Hey guys, it's Erica here. We are going to talk about rings of fire today. And yes, it does look painful and can feel very painful as well. Let's go ahead and talk about how we can avoid this altogether and what we can do if it does appear. I'm first going to show you the wrong way to e-file, which will cause rings of fire. What we don't want to do is use this tip and be up here. You don't want to be using the tip of the bit and drilling into the nail plate like this. Doing so is going to create rings of fire or a groove in the nail, all right? Instead, you're going to want to be parallel, just sweeping away the dead skin cells and lightly pushing into the proximal fold like this. Parallel, flat to the nail, not using that point to dig into the nail. Another way of creating rings of fire is using too much pressure. Now, this often happens with using cheap bits. You're not getting the results you want. So then what happens is we start applying too much force because we want to get the product off. We want to see the cuticle come off, and too much pressure will create that ridge. All right. Also, incorrect RPMs. If you are running too slow, sometimes that can actually be even more dangerous than running too high. And the reason for that is when we're running really low, let me go ahead and turn my e-file to a lower speed, this is what I call when I'm teaching the drag, where we're just pushing into the nail and we're slowly moving it. And that just very quickly, the bit is aggressive enough that it can go through the nail plate. You're using an e-file. So we want to make sure we're parallel and we're just going really smooth. Okay, we're not doing any kind of digging. So we don't want to drag. We just want to increase our RPMs to allow the bit to do its work, where it's just going to just gently go right over the nail plate, exfoliating just like that. We don't need a ridge. We need the RPMs to do the work for us, all right? And lastly, what can cause ring of fire? Of over-filing. Too many passes, going over and over in the same area, whether you're on high or low RPMs, whether your pressure is okay. If you do too many of these, you are going to continue to thin out the nail plate. So less is more. Okay, so yes, I am working on a tip and a mannequin hand because I don't really want to do this to a person because it is really painful. But let's go ahead and take this tip out so that we can see. We can see that there is actually a groove in this tip, and that is from incorrect angle. I was up on the tip as well as applying too much pressure and over filing. When I rub my nail over it, it's literally catching. We do not want to do this to a client. The number one thing is to make sure that you are running your e-file flat, parallel to the nail. Now, also, what I'm going to show you guys is flat is going to change depending on your bit. If you're doing a manicure and you have something that's shaped like a circle or a flame, if I was to do that flat, my belly of my bit is going to hit the nail. So let me go ahead, grab a different nail and show you guys real quick what I mean. So I recommend when you're first working with cuticle work with like our micro taper here is that you're flat parallel to the nail at an appropriate speed, doing very minimal passes. We're just getting the dead skin cells off like so. Now, if you want to do some additional work, like using something like the ball bit or a flame, that is when we actually change our angle. If I were to now work with a flame bit that has a belly, look where I'm filing. It's not even close to the cuticle area, right? Because the largest part of the barrel is what's hitting. I need to be aware of that and adjust my angle so that the tip of the flame is actually doing the exfoliation like this. Okay, I want to show you what this looks like on a model. When I'm referring to a 45-degree angle and using just the tip, it's very much just this point right here that we're using. So the correct way of using the flame is to have it angled so that tip, the flame part, can actually just clean the underside of the proximal fold. So this is the motion that you want to do. If I was running the bit parallel, look what's hitting. Because of that belly, I would be filing down here. So I'm just angling at a 45-degree angle and just doing multiple passes. So what is incorrect is this. Or getting on top of the nail where you're actually right on top using that point and drilling into the nail plate. That is when we create rings of fire. We are using that tip edge parallel, sweeping out those dead skin cells just like this. I also want you guys to practice leading with the cheek. So the cheek is the side, right? So you have a cheek, you have the point, and you have another cheek. So let's quickly go over this. Incorrect, incorrect, correct. Incorrect, incorrect, correct. The tip is parallel. Boop, 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 just like that. So another angle that you want to be aware of is when you are working with the ball bit. We never want to put it parallel to the nail plate because then we would be literally drilling into the nail plate. The ball bits, whether it's this small or a larger ball, should never, ever, ever touch the nail plate. We want to be working on top of the proximal and dead tissue, just like this. Not like this, because doing so you will groove, you will create grooves right into the nail plate, and as it grows out you'll see a little rainbow. We want to be on top of the skin, on top of the skin. You're going to select your shape of your ball bit depending on that cuticle and what your preference is, because we're running at higher RPMs to exfoliate the cuticle. If I am just exfoliating all over this proximal fold area, I have a great chance of burning or hurting my client. So I need to make sure I'm pulling that skin up and that the cuticle is standing up so I can just nicely exfoliate it. So again, let me recap. Incorrect, we don't want to be on the nail plate. We don't want to be up here like this. We're going to create rings of fire only on the skin while pulling back the skin, making it tight so we can nicely exfoliate.
So what do you do if you notice there is rings of fire on your client? First of all, don't panic. It's okay. What I would recommend is, if it's not super deep, is to go ahead and just to apply some product, but make sure if you're curing them in light that you have them outside of the light a little bit, because there will be more of that heat intensity as we're closer to the nail bed. But just have them on the outside and then do a full cure on the inside. If it's very deep rings of fire, my recommendation would be to not put anything and just let the nail grow out and heal. Rings of fire can happen to anyone, especially if you're new to e-filing, but don't let that hold you back. Keep practicing. To learn more about dry manicuring and techniques, check out the rest of our YouTube channel. If you found this content helpful, please go ahead and like and subscribe.